All right, so we got to talk about this whole Bow Wow and Diddy thing, right? It's got everybody talking, and I get it. It sounds like, typical celebrity drama at first. But let me tell you, this goes way deeper than just gossip. This gets into like image and influence, the cost of fame, the whole shebang.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So just to like get everyone on the same page, Diddy's facing some really, really serious charges here. We're talking racketeering, sex trafficking. I mean, this is the real deal. And he's currently behind bars, no bail, and lawsuits are piling up. It's a mess.
Absolutely.
And this article we found from name of publication, it really stood out to us because it does this great job of showing the huge difference between what Bow Wow's saying about all this and how, like, the rest of the world is reacting to Diddy's situation.
It's wild, right?
It really is because, and here's the thing, this isn't just about two guys in the music biz, right? This whole thing, it makes you think about, like, how we put these celebrities on these pedestals. Like, what's the actual price of fame? What does this all say about us, about our culture even? I don't know. What do you think?
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. Absolutely. This whole situation, it really shines a light on, well, sometimes, our obsession with celebrity can get a little unhealthy,
Right.
right? And how fast public opinion can flip. It's a real cautionary tale, honestly.
It really is. And a big part of this cautionary tale is Bow Wow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he said some pretty interesting stuff. So he was on this podcast, and he's talking about how shocked he is by all this about Diddy. And he even says something like, well, I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, I never thought we'd see Diddy like this.
Yeah. And you can hear it in his voice, right?
Yeah.
He's emphasizing the shock, the unexpected, especially coming from him, someone who clearly saw Diddy as this, well, almost untouchable figure.
Exactly. And then he goes on about how Diddy's this giant in the industry, calling him the, and I quote, gatekeeper of hip hop and, the whole nightlife scene.
Totally. He's framing Diddy as someone with immense power,
Right.
right? Like,
Yeah.
he's the one who decides who gets in, who gets access to that world. And, I mean, there's truth to that. You can't deny Diddy's influence.
Oh, absolutely. But here's where it takes a turn. Bow Wow starts complaining about how there haven't been any good parties after the Bay Awards these past couple years.
Yeah, that was weird.
He actually said, and I quote, there was no motion, there was no parties, there was nowhere to go.
It's interesting, Ree. He's so focused on the social impact, like that Diddy's not around to throw parties instead of, the seriousness of the
Yeah.
charges. Like, that's his takeaway. No parties. It really makes you think about how he sees this whole situation, And honestly, that's kind of what's causing all the controversy here.
It's like he's more upset about missing a good party than, like, the actual harm Diddy's accused of, right?
Right. And then, to make it even worse, he tries to clarify, like, oh, I'm not talking about those kinds of gatherings, the ones the indictment's talking about. Like, that makes it any better.
Yeah. It's like he knows it's bad, but doesn't get why it's actually bad.
Totally. It's like he's trying to separate himself from how serious this all is,
Mhm.
but doesn't actually grasp, like, the weight of what those accusations mean.
Yeah.
And that disconnect, that's a big part of why people are coming at him so hard.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely. And he doesn't stop there. It gets worse. Then he starts talking about how bad he feels for Diddy's kids. And look, I'm not saying that's not a valid thing to feel, but it's just
Right.
to go from whining about parties to, like, suddenly being all broken up about the kids. It's just, I don't know, it comes across as so tone deaf.
Yeah.
And just in case, anyone's not familiar with that term, tone deaf basically means a comment that's just totally clueless, like no awareness of the situation.
For sure. And honestly, it kind of feels like he's stuck trying to make sense of it all in his head, right? Like, how does the Diddy he thought he knew, this hustler he looked up to, how does that Diddy end up facing these charges? It's like that dissonance, the difference between, like, the image and the accusations, that's what's causing this whole backlash. And honestly, it's something we see a lot with celebrities. We build them up, put them on a pedestal, and then when things fall apart, it's just jarring.
It's true. We forget sometimes celebrities, they're human too, right? They do good things, bad things. And when we're only paying attention to the good times, the glamorous stuff, it's easy to forget about, like, the consequences.
Exactly. We're so used to seeing them as, like, invincible almost, that we forget their actions have real-world consequences, both for themselves and for other people.
100%. And speaking of consequences, the backlash to Bow Wow's comments has been brutal, man. Brutal. What are people saying online? Give us the rundown.
Oh man, the internet is ruthless. It's like they unleash the hounds. People are calling him out for being insensitive, out of touch, more worried about partying than, the actual allegations. Like I saw someone on X say, "Get a load of this loser. We booked him at the club and he couldn't even give his liquor away to, well, they didn't want it. A Diddy party may actually be his best bet because I never seen a celebrity with such an inability to
Okay, we get it. Point taken. Sounds like some people are just using this as a chance to, like, pile on Bow Wow, too, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And that just shows you another side of this whole thing. Fame is a fickle beast.
Uh-huh.
It's a zero-sum game. One person stumbles, someone else is ready to take their place. It's not even about Diddy or Bow Wow anymore. It's like we get this little peek into how cutthroat the whole celebrity world really is.
It's like a digital feeding frenzy. And then there are those reactions that are just straight up like, is Bow Wow okay, LOL, man said there was nowhere to go. Like, damn, the internet is savage.
And that right there, that is he okay, LOL, that's cognitive dissonance in action, man. That feeling you get when, like, what you believe just clashes with reality. And in this case, it's the image of Diddy, Mr. Party, clashing with, the actual accusations. And he threw gasoline on that fire, man.
Totally. Like, we want the fantasy, right? We want to believe that fame means happiness, endless parties. But reality has a way of showing up, doesn't it? And then we have to face some hard truths. Not just about celebrities, but about ourselves, about what we think is important.
100%. This isn't just about one rapper and some tone-deaf comments. It's like holding up a mirror to our own messed up relationship with fame, with power, with, like, taking responsibility for your actions.
This whole thing really makes you think, right? Like, how responsible are we, the fans, for creating this whole celebrity culture? Do we owe it to ourselves to look past the image, the persona, even if what's underneath is ugly?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can we separate the art from the artist? Should we? It's a debate that's been going on forever, and there's no easy answer.
Right. Because, yeah, we're drawn to talent, to people who are good at what they do. We love celebrating success. But then when someone misuses that talent, that power, it makes you rethink everything.
Absolutely. Makes you realize how dangerous blind adoration can be, right? When we follow blindly, celebrity, politician, whoever, we risk becoming part of the problem. We owe it to ourselves to be informed, to question what we believe, to hold people accountable.
And that goes beyond celebrities, right? That's everyday life. Thinking for yourself, questioning things, that's a muscle we need to use.
Totally. It's about understanding that the stories we tell ourselves about success, about fame, it's usually way more complicated than we want it to be.
So bringing it back to Bow Wow and his Be at T blues, do his comments change how you see Diddy's legacy? Is he still the hustler to look up to, or is that image, like, done for good? What do you think?
It's a tough one, really. And I think, honestly, it's something everyone has to decide for themselves, But what this whole thing shows us is, like, how dangerous it is to put people on pedestals, to make them heroes without, acknowledging the bad stuff, too.
Yeah, it's like we get so caught up in the fantasy, the lifestyle, that we forget there's a real person under there, someone who messes up, who makes mistakes.
Exactly. And those mistakes, sometimes they hurt other people. And that just doesn't fit with those stories we tell about famous people, about success. It's easier to believe in the fairy tale. Reality is kind of messy.
It really makes you think, though. Like, what does it say about us, our whole culture, if the thing we're focused on is missing Diddy's parties?
Yeah.
When there are these accusations, these serious accusations, have we gotten so distracted by the shiny stuff that we forgot what matters?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's not just about Diddy, not just Bow Wow. It's what do we value? What's important to us? That's what we got to ask ourselves.
So much to think about, for sure. But these conversations, they're important, right? Because it's easy to get sucked into that celebrity world to the point where we lose ourselves a little bit. We got to think for ourselves, got to hold people accountable.
100%. It's glamorous, that world, but at the end of the day, it's on us. Our values,
Right.
doing the right thing, that's what matters.
Well said. And listeners, we're going to leave you with this. Next time you're, like, totally sucked into the celebrity thing, the glamour, all that, just take a second, ask yourself, what do I believe in? Who am I supporting with my time, my attention? What does that say about me? It's worth thinking about. And hey, if you want the whole story on this Diddy and Bow Wow situation, check out that article from Name of Publication. It's a wild one. That's it from us for now. Stay curious, everybody.